All right, I'm about to ride on the Juxel. We got the Demon Eyes looking fresherino. We're gonna take some photos of them today. And we also have the Dick Missile plate cover on. You can get these on my website. Link for them is in the description. CNC machine them, powder coat them by hand myself. You can order them. I do them. Let's go for a ride today. We gotta do the Indiana Jones trick. Dun 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 dun. Let's go ride around for a little bit. What is going on, my dudes? It is a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and I just could not help but hop on the bike today. I do have a topic. I don't have much of a topic, but I want to talk about some stuff. The one thing I want to say first, though, I know a lot of you guys noticed that the Corvette wasn't in the garage. It's not sold yet, although I do have a guy who put a deposit on it. I just dropped it off at the Chevrolet dealership just to get it serviced and checked out to make sure it's good for the next owner. Before I sell a car, especially to somebody, I like to get it checked out, make sure that everything's square on it. They're not going to be surprised by anything. I want them to be happy with their purchase. So, dropped it off there at the Chevrolet dealership, and they're going to look through it. It's going to be good to go. And we are on the good old Gixxer boy today. It is fucking, man, it's beautiful. I don't have a location that I'm going. I'm just cruising today, brother. So we're going to get lost and talk about some shit. I also want to take some photos of the Gixxer today. Now that I've got the headlight finally perfectly installed and whatnot, I'd like to get some like good photos. So we'll find somewhere cool to take some headshots, if you will. Not to be confused with what your mother gives me. Huh. That thing kind of fucks, doesn't it? Man, I miss riding. Riding's like top tier, you know? The relief you get, the relaxation that you get. God, it feels so good to be out here again. One of the things that I want to talk about today, at least specifically my topic, is the whole Andrew Tate debacle, right? There's a lot of goofy shit going on there, isn't it? And before we get into it, I want to make it clear, I didn't know who Andrew Tate was before he was arrested. Before this whole shit started with him getting arrested, I wasn't really aware of Andrew Tate. I know a lot of people like him, like especially a lot of young men, because he's, I don't know, I don't want to say spokesperson for men. I don't know how else to describe it other than like, fuck, I should have gone left. I might still go left if I can cut in front of this car quick enough. As soon as that light turns green, I'll cut her. I'm gonna cut this way instead. It's a victimless crime there. Anyway. You want me to do a wheelie? My wheelie days are done. My ankles say no mower. So here's the thing about Andrew Tate. Let's just go ahead and hop right into it right now. I'm gonna get some information wrong because I'm a little bit ignorant on everything about Andrew Tate. I'm a little bit unaware. I don't want to say things that I'm not 100% accurate on, but it's going to happen. So you guys in the comment section can correct me. I'll just let you guys know from my perspective what I think is going on. First and foremost, I don't necessarily like Andrew Tate. Don't get me wrong. He says a lot of things that I do inherently agree with as a male. Like he'll say some things and I'll be like, okay, I kind of understand that. I kind of vibe with that. But then he'll left field it out of fucking nowhere, right? And you'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. That's really extreme. You know, I don't agree with that at all. And it's kind of the same with any, like, strong male leader, you know? And we'll use the term leader loosely because he has a lot of followers. He has a lot of fans. He has a lot of... my buddy calls them tater tots, which I think that's fucking perfect. And before we get into like the shit he says, I want to make it absolutely clear that I am a freedom of speech advocate. I don't care what you have to say, even if I disagree with it wholeheartedly left field. I defend your right to say it. That's the American way. That is what I consider to be the right way to do things. I don't believe in things like hate speech. I do believe that you can say things that are offensive and egregious and go against the grain of society. I think that's very clear that people do that all the time. But even if I disagree with what you're saying, to the fullest extent of disagreeing, I defend your right to say them. I don't believe in censorship. I don't believe that anybody should be censored for any reason, left or right, or middle, in between, gay, straight, trans, whatever. I think you should be able to say whatever you want to say, right? And that goes for Andrew Tate. I think that he should be able to talk about women however he wants. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I will defend your right to say it. Now, recently, last year, he was arrested out of the United States. They spotted some pizza boxes and were able to arrest him on accounts of sex trafficking and a couple other shit, but I think sex trafficking is the main one that everyone's pretty up in arms about. And here's another thing is that there really wasn't any evidence about this. And this is going to come from both ways. So there have been women that admitted that they lied. That is true. That is factual. There have been women that have lied. Whoa, what is... There's just like a random Ingalls here? This is not where I want to be. We'll just sneak out here. No left turn. That's if laws apply to me, and they don't. I'm not a regular person. I'm a motorcyclist. I'm above the law. Everything's everybody else's fault when I get hurt. I'm a biker. Conehead. Anyway, so yeah, the Romanian government spotted Andrew Tate in Romania based off of a pizza box, which, by the way, that whole situation was a little suspicious, wasn't it? I mean, like, he was doing a live stream, right? Live stream or a video, and he had the pizza box, like, on display. Very strange that you would do that when you're actively hiding from law enforcement, you know? I don't know. That situation's weird in itself. But he claims to go to Romania because the government is corrupt, which we'll get into that, you know? A good place for him to hide out. You know, he says he pays the cops off, stuff like that. I think Andrew Tate's a big talker. I think I've met a lot of people who are like him, and there's a lot of people out there who are a bunch of big talk. They don't really do the things that they say they do. They're just looking to get shock value, and I think Andrew Tate's a lot of shock value. That's what really kind of inspires him and his followers, which, you know, there's something to be said about that. Attention comes in all shapes and forms. The Romanian government arrests him on the account of sex trafficking and a couple other crimes. The list is actually kind of long. But here's the thing, man, they haven't been able to solidify proof. That's a big argument. That's a big argument. Now, as of now, he's been released, at least at the time of recording this video. He'd been released by the Romanian government on bond, on bail, on house arrest, one of the three. He's not allowed to leave the country because they haven't found substantial proof. I know where I'm at. I don't want to be here. I want to turn around. I'll do a little zippy U-turn. Man, what's up with me going to shopping centers and doing U-turns? What am I, gamer word? Big fat gamer word now. Let's do a little hit. Oh, that sounds so good. If I was a good old-fashioned street Rossi, I'd be dodging some yellow Porsches right now, but I'm not. So anyway, he gets released on account of they can't find any solid proof. And I don't know if he did it or not. You know, that's fucking hard to say. Is he sketchy? Absolutely. I think it's pretty clear to anybody that Mr. Tate is not exactly a saint. And I know he does this whole, like, webcam thing. It's really weird, man. And like I said, I'm not defending this guy, but I'm a very due process kind of guy. Innocent till proven guilty, and he's not getting that treatment because he's not in the U.S., you know? That's kind of on him. You avoided our government to go to a corrupt government, and you got fucked over. Big fucking surprise, right? Now, that being said, if he did it, I 100% think he should be prosecuted, strung up by his dick, executed. Sex trafficking is probably some of the most heinous crimes that you can commit, and especially when it comes to children, because a lot of people who are sex trafficked are children. It makes up the majority of sex trafficking, which is very disturbing. So yeah, if it was him, which I hope he's innocent. I genuinely hope he's innocent. Not because I like him either, because I hope the people that he was involved with were not victims. I hope that they were genuinely consenting adults. That's what I want. And I think it's really strange to see people who are like, I hope he's guilty. It's like, okay, so it means to me that you hope that these women were actually abused and raped? Is that what you really want that? You would prefer that over him being innocent and going, I would much rather someone be innocent of crimes like that, because that means to me there were no victims, versus like people wanting him to be guilty means that those people suffered. It's kind of fucked up. It's a fucked up situation. You know, I get it, you don't like them. I get you don't like somebody. Woo! We're in a school zone. We just gotta slow it down here, boys. In the famous words of Abraham Lincoln, fuck them kids. I'm just kidding. So yeah, I do hope that Tate is innocent, not because I want to see him free, but because I hope there weren't any victims. I hope everybody was consenting. I hope it was a situation where it was just misunderstood by the media because he's got a loud mouth. That's what I hope. But if it's the other way around, if he was, then yeah, I hope he gets the fucking book. But it's not looking like that. It's looking like there's no evidence. Either he really covered his tracks well, or he genuinely didn't do anything against the law. But the whole reason I want to talk about this is one specific factor that pisses me off. They took his entire car collection from what I understand, and sold it to fund the investigation. That fucking infuriates me, dude. That's so fucked up. And that's one of the reasons why America justice system works better sometimes than others. I'm not saying it's the best system in the world, but it is a system that, for the most part, works. It's very convoluted, and it is designed to hurt uneducated poor people. Let's be real. To where if you don't have the money or the knowledge on how to combat the system, you're fucked. That's kind of how the system works here in America. But if you have access to even like the basis of law knowledge, a library, maybe a lawyer, you know, a lot of lawyers will take on cases, or public defenders will take on cases for nothing. Public defenders will take them for nothing, but lawyers will often, if you have a good case, they will do it for free because they know you're going to win. Anyway, you can call it a democracy, you can call it a republic, but other places have a very weird way of doing justice systems. The right does not rely on the people. It's more or less guilty till proven innocent, which I disagree with entirely. You know, I definitely prefer the innocent till proven guilty. Even cases where I know the person's guilty, like the Max Murdaugh, if anybody's kept up with the Murdaugh murders, Laura has brought me into that whole situation and kept me up to date on that. So I'm very well versed in the Murdaugh cases. Like, you know that motherfucker was guilty, and you want someone to just go out there and boom, pop him in the head, you know? Boom, justice served. But that's not how the American court system works. He is going to get his, and he did get his. He was convicted. Oh, no way. This is actually this is the farm where we bought Harper from, by the way. That's ironic. We just randomly came here. I got to walk inside that school bus. That bus is it's like all inside is really cool. It's like a RV. And I think the real reason that I care about the situation is because as a male, and this is coming from the male audience here, so let's have a conversation about this. This isn't a you versus me. This isn't a man versus woman. This is simply coming from a male perspective. In America, I feel like masculinity is under attack. I'll give Andrew Tate that. I do feel like masculinity as a whole, whether it be just America or other nations, I feel like masculinity is under attack. It all started with the toxic masculinity kind of esque traits, which I don't disagree with. I do believe that there is inherently male characteristics that are, I would consider, toxic, right? Especially living in like a modern society, you know, I think the need for a lot of physical violence is probably unnecessary in a lot of cases. And you know how dudes are. Dudes get together, and dudes just fucking want to fight. And want to do dumb shit on motorcycles and cars. Like, there are such thing as toxic traits in men. I think we can all agree on that, right? You got to look deep within yourself as a dude and be like, okay, that's kind of a shitty thing for me to do. And whether it be because my father did it, or my grandfather did it, or because the president's doing it, or because, you know, someone who I watch on YouTube's doing it. As a man, the one of two genders, you have to be able to look at yourself and look at other men and realize, okay, this is actually not good. This is not healthy. This is not sustainable as a society. That's clear. And that fucking ain't. That goes for women too. That is that's a woman thing as well. Oh, thanks for putting the stop in with your hands. I never would have guessed that I had to stop for oncoming traffic. Appreciate you, partner. Although I do like your hat. Gotta look cool. And speaking of toxic male traits, gotta look cool in front of other men. That's how it is, right? But just because a certain group of men express a certain type of trait doesn't mean that masculinity in itself is toxic. It just means that certain traits are toxic that certain men have or exuberate. Is that fair to say? Can we all agree that that is fair to say? Even the most alpha of men in my followers, which I know there are. I've seen you guys. You guys are swinging them fucking hammers of yours in the comments. We can agree that not everything we do is like fucking super cool, right? This is a double-edged sword because it also applies to women too. There are female traits that are not very cool. I'll call them toxic feminine traits. And men, you know what those are. I think it takes a good relationship between a man and a woman. This is just specifically for this scenario, for you to recognize both of those. It takes a very strong relationship as a man and a woman to look at each other and go, okay, well, this trait is kind of shit, and this trait is also kind of shit. And that goes for both sides. I think that's fair. And I think it's fair to say that you can have both. You can have both masculinity and femininity working coincided. It has for literally 1,000 years, you know? And I also don't want people to think that when I say that you can't have a man and a man or a woman and a woman relationship work very well. Because you can. I've seen it. I've got many friends who are... As a matter of fact, I did the calculations the other day. I have more really close gay friends than I do straight friends, which is odd. A lot of my childhood friends have come out as gay, and I say weird because, like, I being a straight man, statistically, we have more straight friends, right? But the crazy part is that my really close friends who have come out as gay are some of the most fucking masculine motherfuckers I have ever been around. My best friend came out as gay maybe a year or so ago. He is probably one of the most alpha male people that I know. Very strange. We often joke that he's not gay because he likes men, but because he hates women. See, that would probably be considered a toxic masculine trait, right? You can have toxic masculine traits and be gay. That's fun. One of the biggest things to like change my own perspective of myself and the way I perceive myself was a solid mushroom trip. An ego death, if you will. It's almost like, you know, people joke around about the third eye opens when you indulge in psychedelics, especially natural ones like psilocybin, you know, which is being used to treat depression, very rapidly becoming mainstream, acceptable, and decriminalized. I think a lot of states right now are working on decriminalizing psilocybin, which I think is fucking great. I'm a strong believer in the psilocybin for mental health. I honestly think it would help a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I've seen it quite literally help many of my friends. I can't tell you how many of my friends that it's helped with their depression and anxiety and self-awareness. I think that's the biggest one ever. But stuff like that, god dang, that thing fucks. But I do think stuff like that really does help the person understand themselves better. You know, it kind of gives you a perspective on everything. You kind of learn about those things that you hate about yourself that you didn't know. You know, traits about yourself that you don't like. I don't know how we got on this track, but here we are. Completely off topic. We're gonna keep jumping around here because of my ADHD brain. I'm a big fan of the stoned ape theory. I don't know if you guys have researched that or heard about that even. The theory of evolution is like, well, how come they're still monkeys, you know? There's this theory about essentially a group of monkeys, a group of primates who came across magic mushrooms, psilocybin, in the wild. This is obviously a very long time ago. They come across these magic mushrooms and they consume them. You know, psilocybin stimulates the frontal cortex in ways that you don't get throughout the day normally. They ate these mushrooms, it developed their frontal lobe and made them more cognitive, self-aware, and smarter, essentially, and which evolved over time into modern thinking humans rather than apes. I think that theory is really cool, and I think there probably is some validity to something like that. And you can go even further, and I hate to sound like a Joe Rogan regurgitator, because I do know this guy did appear on Joe Rogan, but can't remember his name, but his profession is to basically translate words from their origin. And he dates all the way back to the Dead Sea Scrolls, you know, which were written on skin, on animal hide, which he says the word Christ translates to mushroom with God's sperm on it. And I highly suggest you guys do your own research. Don't take anything I say. Don't take a single word I say for fact. Always do your own independent research. But he basically says that the word Christ translates to mushroom with God's sperm on it. Mushrooms are the fastest growing thing in nature. You go to sleep, let's say you're out in the woods, you go to sleep, it rains overnight, you wake up, what is there? A bountiful harvest of mushrooms. Mushrooms grow so fast. So they would eat them and trip fucking balls. Those stories through various mushroom trips were jotted down on animal hide. They're written on animal hide, rather, well, almost tattooed or dyed, I guess. And the stories that you get from like the Bible are essentially just mushroom trips. I think that's a cool concept. I do. Not to say that it discredits religion. I just think it's a cool theory. I think it's a cool idea. I think you can have both. I think you can have both religion and science. It's just whatever makes you more comfortable. I'm a religious person. I do believe in a God and a higher being, a more knowledgeable being. You know, let's go here. Let's see what this roundabout is. Let's see what this is. anyway, I say all of this about psilocybin and mushrooms and Andrew Tate and masculinity and toxicity because they're all kind of connected. And I don't want to be an advocate for drug use on my channel. However, I'm kind of a firm believer that anything that's in nature, anything that grows in nature is not a drug. Pharmaceuticals are drugs. Adderall, antidepressants, those are drugs. But things that just grow in nature the way they're born in nature, not drugs. That doesn't mean it can't fucking kill you. Now, I will say nobody has ever died of psilocybin or marijuana. From all the research I've done, I think there was a guy who made some sort of like tea and then injected it into his veins, and then he died of an infection. No shit, don't do that. However, excluding that, I'm pretty solid on it. And it's almost like woke culture has taken on the idea of what it actually means to be woke. You know, you can be self-aware without being woke. Let's go this way. I'm just gonna keep taking turns. And I don't mean self-aware in the terms of like woke. I think woke culture is super cringe. We got a C6 up here. It's a Z06. Fuck yeah, that's God's motor. LS7, baby, let's go. Ain't nothing woke about that. Ain't nothing gay about an LS7. I think the biggest detriment to society with woke culture is the murdering of comedy. Comedy has fucking died. I'm a firm believer that comedy is untouchable as far as canceling. There is no joke that is off limits when it comes to comedy. I'm a firm believer in this. Now, I want to say it excludes direct attacks, meaning like to make fun of a fat person or a white person or a black person, that's all okay. It's fine to make fun of gay, straight, all of that. That is okay. Now, when it becomes personal is when you start calling out people by name, and I'm a believer that the only people that you can call out by name in the sake of comedy and it be okay are politicians and other comedians. That's kind of like my two things. I think politicians should be subjected to the heaviest form of scrutiny from anybody, right? I have no idea where the fuck I am. But I'm a firm believer that excluding personal attacks, comedy is untouchable. I just think that it should not be touched. I think comedy is 100% subjective, and I find some of the most heinous shit hilarious because of the way I cope with comedy. I think cancel culture has ruined this. You're not allowed to have jokes about gay people, black people, Asian people, white people. Actually, I think white people are really the only ones that are free game, and it's fine because we fucking suck, right? Like that's the whole joke. I can tell you the moment that comedy died. This is all subjective, right? But the moment that comedy died, 2016 realistically was the death. Anything before 2016, fabulous. But ever since Harambe died, man, it just has not. It's not been the same, dude. Man, you think that I could open this thing? There's no lock on it. I could just open it and steal all your gifts. Very soon, we're going to be living in like a China reality where you're not allowed to laugh unless the government tells you that it's funny. Otherwise, your social credit's going to go down. George Orwell, 1984. 10 years of unchanged direction. That's where we're headed, man. I think the world, hear me out. I think the world would be a lot better of a place if everybody had a gun, everyone occasionally tripped out on mushrooms, everyone was allowed to smoke weed, probably reduce your porn intake. I think the accessibility to pornography is a big one because sex is a major dopamine trigger. If we're going to get down to a chemical bond to this, sex is one of the biggest dopamine triggers you can have, which is, the whole need to procreate comes from a dopamine drip that you get when you bust a nut. I think that's a big one. I think pornography is a big one, believe it or not. I'm not telling you not to jerk off. I'd never tell you that. They say as a dude to avoid prostate cancer or to reduce the risk of it, you're supposed to bust a nut about 21 times a month. Those are rookie numbers. You need to get those numbers up, buddy. But I think there's a lot of things. I think censorship, pornography, and I think the misappropriation of mental health care, I think that's a big one too. People do not get the help that they need. You were here before me, so you go. And I also think that masculinity is very important for society. I think you need masculine people to help further progress and protect. Back in the day, before we had nuclear weapons, we had to fucking fight, right? I think testosterone's important. I think estrogen's important, especially in the right location. And I don't want to get into the whole trans community conversation because I recognize that my beliefs are not everyone's beliefs. And I have trans followers and friends, and I don't want to offend them because I support them. I support what makes them happy. But the statistics show that people who transition are just as unhappy as they were before. which to me means it's a mental health issue. I think the symptom of not being born in the right body into an augmentation of being in the correct body does not change the suicide rates amongst people who transition. And nobody's really talking about that. Everyone wants everyone to be happy, so you have a group of people who are violently unhappy. And I think that's when you got to kind of look at it and go, okay, it's not as simple as being born in the wrong body. It's a mental health thing. And there's a whole group of these people that don't want to admit that they're sick. I'm not different. I'm not sick. I'm not crazy. And you're not. That's not what people are trying to say. I think all that's important is getting people the right help. And what is going on with the transitioning is obviously, in my opinion, not the correct thing. I have an oddly high amount of trans friends, some who have transitioned and some who have not. And I can't use my group of friends as a perfect example of what's going to happen for everybody. I frequently look to those around me to make my judgment. I think that's important. From my group of friends, from what I've seen, those who transition physically and those who do not, the happiness level doesn't change. Statistically, it doesn't change either. And to me, that says these individuals are not getting the right treatment. Hormone replacement therapy, physical augmentations it's not the right treatment, man. It's not what's helping these people. And a lot of the arguments that I've seen online are acceptance. They would be happier if more people accepted them, and that is also incorrect. Statistically, factually, it is incorrect. Acceptance is not the issue. There's a better way, and I think we need to come together as a community, stop ostracizing a group, right? It's never worked for anything. Ostracizing a group of people has never worked for anybody. Why would it be any different for this group of people here? I think the thing that really messes with me the most is the sheer number of increase in, I would say, misgendered, what's the word I'm looking for here? You think that's a cut through? I bet it is. We'll find out. I don't want to be an asshole and it not be. I always have a hard time because I'm a very facts-oriented person. You can show me the facts and prove me incorrect. I will switch my opinion like that. All it takes is factual information for me to change the way I think about anything. And that is how I've been. That's how I've always been. I am a hardcore, what is the ultimate truth guy. So the minute we find something, or if we find data that proves anything I've said is incorrect, or that goes as simple as you guys. I know I have trans followers. I know I have gay followers. I know I have a huge myriad of followers with different experience and lives and tales. And I want to hear from you guys, man. I'm a very inclusive person. I don't think that any group should be ostracized for their beliefs. I'm very much what makes you happy. But that's what I want to figure out. For a lot of people, chopping off body parts, it doesn't make them happy. It only further progresses their depression. Now, because you're against the grain, does that make you mentally ill? No, it doesn't. But let's draw a line here. There's a guy, very popular video clip from a TV show, I can't remember which one, if it was Maury or Dr. Phil or whatever. This guy associates himself mentally with being not only trans, a disabled person. He cut his own legs off with a saw because he identifies as someone who doesn't have legs. He felt as though he was someone without legs. I think we can all agree someone who cuts off perfectly good arms or legs for some sort of mental, right, association, we can agree that is a mental issue. That is a mental health issue. So why do we deny it when it comes to sexuality? Sexuality is a very strange, I'll even say gender. It's a very strange area that scientists, doctors are looking the other way on, and I don't understand that. It's not that I'm against it. I just don't understand why an individual would do it unless there was something pushing them that way. I also don't believe that people choose to be gay. I don't think that's a choice as much as it is how you are. So it's very weird where you draw the line on what is a mental illness. I guess society decides this, right? I think it should be up to doctors. I also think pronouns are bullshit. He, she, it, when, where, who, monster truck, helicopter. I think pronouns are fucking dumb. I don't care what you associate as. I don't think you need to put them in your bio. And also, why is it such an offensive thing if I get it wrong? I don't think it's offensive to get something incorrect. I think the whole pronouns movement is fucking super lame. Not because you should not be called what you want to be called. There's a big difference between accepting it as facts and deciding what you want to be called as, right? Let me put an example. I think the internet ostracizes the he, she, shim, her, zim, whatever community as a whole, but you forget that these are individual people. Now, am I going to neglect science and say that there are multiple genders and that he is actually a she and she is actually a he? No. But if we're in a conversation, I go, oh yeah, dude, what's up? And they're like, hey, I would prefer if you called me, I'd prefer if you referred to me as a female. Absolutely. That's fine. I think that's okay. But on a global scale, I think that's ridiculous. I will call you whatever you want to be called. I think that's a sign of respect. But it's when you start denying facts and denying science as a whole, I think that's where it gets really fucked. I think that's where we fuck up. Everyone should have the right to be called whatever they want to be called. However, that doesn't mean that there are more than two genders. That doesn't imply that you are a male. But if you want to be referred to as a he, if that helps you, abso-fucking-lutely. I think that's totally fair. The same thing. Let's say that tomorrow I wanted to be called Gorilla Jim. That's fine. Am I a gorilla? No, I accept that I'm not a gorilla. But if it makes me feel better to be called, I'll ask, hey, can you call me Gorilla? Hey, do it with Gorilla Dan. I think this was the wrong road. I think I turned on the wrong road. I did turn on the wrong road. Nah, it's fine. We'll get there. I think we can all agree that right now, society's a little fucking weird. Unprecedented, it's fucking weird. I will not exchange facts for feelings. Oh my god, it's elephants! Ah! Okay. Man, I am really in the jungle now, baby. Oh god. Half a mile on this road, eh? I'm not so sure about this one. Oh, fuck. Oh. How did I get this lost? How loose is this road? Okay, it's not that loose. Make sure just to use the rear brake, though. I hate to use the famous line, old Ben Shapiro, facts don't care about your feelings, you know? I like some of the things that Shapiro says. He's a little bit of a ninny, but I stand by a lot of it. I stand by a lot of his positions, and mostly his ability to debate. I think that's important. Dude, I am so not sure about where the fuck I am. But a lot of people hear things, and they just believe them, right? You know, you don't need the facts, you don't need the supporting evidence. Oh, well, I kind of feel like that too. That's not how it works, man. I think it's important if you're gonna formulate opinions about things, they need to have backing. Why do you feel this way? And I think ultimately, the only thing you should consider is whether or not the next person to you is happy without negatively affecting the rest of the world. Oh my god, dude, where the fuck? It's getting worse. Half a mile, we can do this. Oh my god. I made a wrong turn at Albuquerque. And I think, I almost wonder if this is some sort of big fucking, like, scheme, you know? Like, wouldn't pick up a gun. Hello? Oh my god, Medicaid bullshits. Oh my fucking potholes, dude. Please tell me we're coming up to a road. Thank god. Oh, pavement. Jesus. Wow. That was a rough couple of miles. Ugh. Anyway. You know, I didn't think that I was a conspiracy theorist until I posted my most recent motovlog where I talk about shit that I see. And then everyone's like, whoa, Dan, you're red-pilled. You're base as fuck. And I'm like, whoa, am I? Am I that crazy? Because, like, up until I posted that video, I didn't think I was based. I didn't think I was red-pilled. But now I'm starting to see the fact that I am actually a conspiracy guy. I am a conspiracy theorist. I think a lot about what big government, what big pharma, whoever has in store for us. It almost feels like we're some sort of social experiment. You know, is China forcing chemicals into the American population, our own government, to make us more complicit and compliant? I think COVID was a huge turning point for our culture and our country, which split us into two major groups, which is don't comply, fuck you, or you better comply, fuck you. Very strange, man. I just don't get it. Or at least maybe I do get it. Maybe that's the issue, is that I get it, and I realize that it's fucked. It's bullshit. I don't know, man. It's big sus. That's what I'm going to chalk it up to, is big susarino. Whatever's going on, whoever's pulling the strings is certainly not doing it with our interest in mind. Some shit is being fucked up. I don't know if it's government. I don't know if it's just rich people. I do not know what it is. But They want some of us to die, and they want most of us to be unable to defend ourselves. Like, my go-to right now is that I suggest everyone buy a gun and a gas mask. That's kind of where my head's at. I do not know how this country in the world in general are going to unfold. I'm a little bit nervous. I think it's been pretty rough for the past couple of years, and I do not see it getting better. I see it getting worse. I think China is looking to move on Taiwan really good. I know Russia and China and a lot of countries in the Middle East, and I think even Africa have all signed on signing agreements that exclude the U.S. There's a lot of countries that are moving away from the U.S. dollar. Countries are becoming independent away from America. I think this is a rough one to say. America itself as a country, I think, is struggling. I think we're experiencing a lot of division in this country, which is how you do it. You create a bunch of micro categories that people are forcing themselves into. Well, I want to self-identify as this. I want to identify as that. You know, I'm trans, I'm bi. Okay, I'm a helicopter, I'm a truck, I'm a dog chasing cars. I don't think that makes me based or red-pilled. I'm worried about our country. And not because I feel like it has to fit into a specific category. I think everybody can be happy in their own right. If we just give a little bit and we let a little bit of stuff go, ultimately I just want people to be happy. And if that means transitioning, if that's what makes you happy, like abso-fucking-lutely. If that made you happy, it's full support. I think we should be a happy nation and we should be an armed nation. I don't care about good old boy country. I don't care about pink hair country. I don't care about any of that shit. I just care about a strong, and why wouldn't you want to be a strong country, you know? Why wouldn't, as an individual, you know, why wouldn't you want to be a strong country? I want to bring all my gay and liberal friends to the shooting range and show them what America is meant to be. You can be matter of fact, I got a buddy of mine who has transitioned into a woman, and she still does all the gun stuff. I want all my he, she, it, we friends to be armed to the teeth. I think we need to cut out antidepressants as well. One thing that has been consistent among school shootings, other than the fact that a gun has been used, has been antidepressants. I think over 90% of all the shooters in these school shootings have been on like Zoloft or other major antidepressant brands, and I think that's a huge one, because antidepressants, if you guys don't know how they work, that's a big one, is understanding how they work. They don't just make you not sad. They make you not emotional at all. You're not happy, you're not sad, you feel nothing. It kills that cortex of your brain. It numbs you to the point where you don't feel anything. You don't feel compassion, you don't feel remorse, you don't feel empathy, sympathy, you don't feel any of that. Which is why it's so easy for one of these kids to pick up a gun and go shoot a bunch of people, because they don't feel remorse. They don't feel that. We should be strong as a nation, but we should also be empathetic. You can have both. Neither one of them are exclusive. It should not be us versus them. It shouldn't be left versus right. God damn. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. That looks pretty alright. I like me a good Mustang. I think next time you're thinking about the side you don't like, you should be able to look at that and go, they're human too, man. You got to recognize that these people have their own lives, their own responsibilities and cultures and opinions and feelings. You know, you're tired when you come home from work, so are they. I feel like I've ranted about just about everything. I don't consider myself to be based or red-pilled, but if that's how you guys want to perceive me, then for sure. I think the only thing that you should ever look in your neighbor's bowl for is to ensure that they have enough to eat. Oh man, look at you. Look at you. Hell yeah, get it. I love me a good old-fashioned Camaro. Alright guys, that is the end of today's video. I'm gonna take some photos of this bitch, cut to the music and the photos.